Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president here at JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures podcast powered by JDog and Vet TV. Our podcast gives veterans, mil spouses, active military members, and military family members a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're serving their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I am so excited to have MJ Boice, who is a military family advocate and the spouse of a retired Marine. She holds a BS in social psychology and has dedicated her entire education, her time, and her career path as a writer, speaker, and advocate for military and veteran family quality of life issues. Over time, she has served as staff writer for the National Military Family Association, a digital editorial consultant with Military Spouse Magazine, a VA benefits advisor, briefing through the Transition Assistance Program, and numerous on and off the clock initiatives at the local, state, and national levels. She currently serves as a change management consultant for the Defense Health Agency, helping providers and staff across the military health system adjust to the new electronic health record system known as MHS Genesis. Additionally, MJ is an Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year alumni, named the 2015 installation winner for MCRD Paris Island. She has since consistently worked to collaborate with her vast alumni network of change-making military and veteran spouses to secure a brighter tomorrow for current and future military families. She is also a proud member of the National Military Spouse Network, a preeminent networking, mentoring, and professional development organization committed to the education, empowerment, and advancement of military spouses. As a member, she leverages her personal and professional experiences to help advocate for policy solutions surrounding the challenges that impact the military spouse workforce. Wow. Amazing, lady. Wow, that's what a bio. So I am so thrilled to have you on. You are a change maker, that is for sure. And I am excited that you said yes to come on my podcast. So welcome.
Thank you.
So um, let's get into like the military spouse. You've been a military spouse for a very long time. You got in it very young, right? So
Yes.
tell me that story.
What had happened was, um, he, well, I've known my husband since we were kids. We grew up together back home in Detroit, Michigan, and so uh, we actually started dating at band camp.
Wow.
And I can hear
Okay.
all of your listeners right now saying in their heads, this one time at band camp, if I had a nickel, I could put both my kids through college. So we both have a love of music, and he did join the Marine Corps. We did start young. We started our family young. We had our daughter
Wow.
when we were 18, and then 2 weeks later, he left for boot camp
Oh my
because I
gosh.
still
Oh
was
wow.
finishing up on school. I was still finishing up school, and so he went to the School of Music, which is in Little Creek. He was a Marine Corps bandsman. That's what he did in the Marine Corps, and
Oh
he was a
wow.
trumpet player and a drum major. Yeah. And then so yeah, we ended up getting married during Hurricane Floyd because that was my introduction to military life. Murphy's Law, right up on cue.
Oh my
Love it.
gosh.
It was so awesome. I've got stories for life thanks to Murphy.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Sure.
but yeah, so like we've been everywhere. We've been to Hawaii. We lived in Hawaii. I love the culture. We have 2 kids. We have my daughter who is 25 now, and my son is 22. And you know the military is a family business, right? Just
Yeah,
things
really.
like that.
Yeah.
So apparently, my daughter thought I made military spouse life look so cool that she joined our club a couple years ago.
Oh.
And she married an airman who was also a Navy brat, by the way.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and
Okay.
yes, and it's interesting because now they promoted me not once but twice to Mimi because we don't say
Oh.
the G word over here. We're only 43, okay?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I have a Milk Kid 2.0 and a Milk Kid 2.1. That's what we
Wow.
got.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I love how all that stuff is just being passed down in your family. I think it's great. So is there a particular aspect of your service being a male spouse and your husband, that was especially impactful? Like, was there a favorite deployment that meant so much to you, or?
You know what? I've been asked this question a couple times, and it's really, really difficult to answer. And the reason is because where you live and the period of time you're in is really not as important or not as impactful as the people surrounding you
Sure.
at that place during that time. And so I'm going to go with the very first friend I ever made in military life. I
Oh,
didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. My daughter was 1 when we finally moved to our first duty station, Camp Lejeune, shout out. And I saw this girl moving in 2 days later who would look my age with a little girl my daughter's age. And I swear I darn near tackled her running up to her because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, there's somebody my age and you have to be new at this too, right?"
right.
And we kind of
Bonded.
rode
Yeah.
the green tide together,
Yeah.
and we definitely bonded. To this day we still talk. She still visits. Our families get together still, and because that never leaves you. You see
Right.
each other through things that at 3 o'clock in the morning, when nobody else gets it, they get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. Yeah. I'm sure the relationships that you make as a military spouse and within the military community is very unique. And that's amazing. I love it. You've done so much work in the military and military spouse community as a writer, digital editor, consultant, the list goes on, right? But you are a member of the National Military Spouse Network, where you say you would not be where you are today if it wasn't for that organization. So about. I'd love to hear about it.
Yes, so the National Military Spouse Network, or NMSN, because we love our acronyms, right?
Oh, of course.
um So I was introduced to that when we moved here to the Quantico, Virginia area, which where we currently reside. This
Hmm.
was our twilight tour. Just like every other time we moved, I did not have a job waiting for me. I did have my side gigs, my contract jobs, my freelance stuff, but I couldn't, usually takes about 6 months to a year to find a full time gig. When I
Sure.
first moved here, I thought, I'm moving to the land of opportunity. I'm 30 miles out of DC. I got this. I can't wait. But what I didn't realize was with a lot of opportunity also came a lot of competition.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
went from being kind of a bigger fish in a smaller pond to a minnow that was fighting for air. But that's okay because when I first got here, I went to a luncheon and I met a bunch of people. And one of those people was Sue Hoppen, who is the founder of the National Military Spouse Network. And we went around the table, and I was still just 2 months in, still didn't have a job, but I am who I am. I can talk my way out of anything. And we went around this table and we got on the founder of this, and I started this nonprofit, and I run this business, and I bootstrapped this as an entrepreneur, and I run Easter sales or this, just really huge things. And I'm like, hi, I'm MJ. I'm
Uh,
currently undergoing a PCS identity crisis. I'm currently unemployed, but let me tell you what I'm about and what I'm gonna do. And I had to put lipstick on a
yeah.
pig in that moment because I wasn't expecting it. And so
Right. Oh
after
my
after we
gosh.
went through those introductions, people were getting up and getting their coffee, and Sue Hoppen said to me, "I'm going to be your accountability partner." And if she didn't live up to that, I mean, to this day. And it's not just her as the founder, it's her and the members that are part of it, just like myself. We invest in one another as if we are investing in ourselves. And the more we elevate each other, the more we are then elevated, whether that's connecting with each other to elevate our own efforts or connecting them with other people, whether you're a creative and a photographer, or you own a firm, or you have an LLC. There are summits that she holds, that NMSN holds, that has speakers from all different subject matters that cater to the military spouse demographic, because there's a lot of military spouse employment initiatives out there, and that's
Right.
great.
Sure.
Not everyone is created equal. I love them all, and they what I love is that they do partner together sometimes.
Yeah.
But what I'll say about this one is about Suze, is we get involved in legislation. And when I say that, I mean we have this experience. Okay, if we're 26% unemployed and 55% underemployed, the military
Yeah.
spouses, like, hi, why aren't we looking at this? And so we started saying, okay, we're not going to come to the table and say, hey, this is a problem, fix it. We're going to come to the table and say, hey, here's the problem, here's the data behind it, here's a story to go with it. Oh, by the way, here's a solution on a silver platter. Want to talk? You know what I mean? That's kind
Right.
of what we
Sure.
do. And we're
Yeah.
going to be having our day of service, which is Military Spouse Appreciation Day. Every year, we go up to the Hill or we contact our current local representatives. We are on from morning till night, whether that's virtually or in person, and we are explaining these are the issues. How can we work together to solve them on the local, state, and national level?
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, veteran unemployment is an issue, but more of an issue is the military spouse unemployment and underemployment. Yeah. I did some mentoring work with Amplify through Hiring Our Heroes. So I was a mentor there. And, you know, again, them just trying to do great stuff to help military spouses launch a career or start a business or whatever. And yeah, there's a lot of people in the space trying to make a difference. But it is a tough problem. It really is. When you're talking about, some mil spouses I've heard have had like, in the span of like a 20, 22-year career, they've had 13 PCSs. Like how do you hold a job or have a career when with 13 PCSs. You don't unless you're being an entrepreneur and you're able to work wherever. It's tough. It really is. It really is a tough problem. So I'm
It is,
glad
but
you.
I think with like minds like yourself, and going to Amplify and participating in the process and hearing
Yeah.
stories like ours and spreading them out, somebody's going to hear that and somebody's going to be like, yeah, that doesn't sound great. I think I might want to help.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think we have a real problem here. Yeah,
Hello,
definitely.
viewers and listeners. Are you a military veteran or military family member and looking to own your own business? If so, go to jdog.com and check out our two veteran focused franchises, JDog Junk Removal and Hauling and JDog Carpet Cleaning and Floor Care. Our franchisees nationwide are always looking to hire fellow veterans and patriots. JDog is the world's largest military franchise system with hundreds of locations nationwide. We are nearly 90% veteran owned with the goal of reducing the veteran unemployment rate to under 1%. Check us out. Go to jdog.com to learn more. Now, back to the podcast.
What you're doing now. So you're a change management consultant.
Mhm.
So tell me about the work that you're doing there.
So, as a change management consultant with the Defense Health Agency,
Yeah.
it's very much no different than anywhere else because, okay, I'm a military spouse. I eat change for breakfast,
Yeah.
right? There's
Right.
no
Yeah.
escaping it.
True.
and and the best part of understanding change is that there's different levels, but you've got your systems change, you've got your individual change, you've got peer change, relationships, dynamics, organizations. The number one thing to remember is that organizations don't change, people change.
Yeah.
It's the people within the organizations that change, so you need to meet them where they're at. You can't just hand somebody a brand new phone and say, I expect you to flawlessly operate this and make every call that you're supposed to call within the next 5 minutes and be successful. No, there's going to be changes to the way you do things. And so it's very similar to military life. It's very similar to any person listening, anybody. Look at it like this. There are 5 A's of change. One, you've got to be aware of the change. That's awareness, right? You have to know what's going to happen. If you don't know what's going to happen, uncertainty is going to keep you up at night. And
Yeah.
that's what's going to keep you from wanting to change. Well, that's the other thing, is wanting to change, aspiration. Do I want to embrace this change? If I don't, why is that? Is it because I don't know enough about it? Let's go back to awareness. All right, well,
Right.
then the next, now you're aware and now you kind of are on board. What's next? Well, I don't really know how to change. I don't have the aptitude to change. Okay, well, let's find out a way to change. So how do we do that? All right, then we go on to, we got aptitude and we've got ability. Okay, now I know how to, but am I able to do it? Can I actually physically change this thing? And then lastly, it's sustaining that change. Everybody thinks that once a change has happened, it's over, you're good. No, you have to sustain that change. Just like reintegration after a military combat deployment. After you're running with your heels and your wind hair blown and you're on the flight line and you hug your service member, is the deployment over? Nope,
No,
because you still
no, it
have to go
isn't.
through reintegration. That's the same
Yeah,
rules apply with change. Sustaining change is just like reintegration after deployment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, that's I love it. The 5 A's. I never looked at it like that. But that is, there are stages, just like with everything, there are stages to a change. So I guess the fifth A is sustainability, but acceptance, right?
Amplification.
Amplification. Okay.
We had to keep it the theme, and that's about as close as we could get.
Yeah, I love it.
But it's all to make sure. Here's the thing. It's all to make sure that I'm going to military treatment facilities and I'm working with providers, doctors who see patients, nurses who see patients, registration clerks who check people in, right? And I'm working with these people with this, not with the buttons that they push. It's more than the buttons. I'm working to see, are you following the workflow? Are you not wanting to do it this way? And if not, why? Why are you resistant? And that's how I do. I figure out on the individual level, is it because you just don't want to, because you're mad? And why are you mad? Because you don't understand it. You don't know how it's going to help you in the future. Well, let me help you with that, right? And the whole goal is to help them get seamlessly do what they need to do in the system so they can focus on the patients. By the way, I'm a patient too.
Right. Yeah.
So
True.
yeah. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what, and I do that for my community. And when there are bumps in the road and I'm hearing things from our community, which I do, about the level of care, the access to care standards, I look and see if there's anything in my wheelhouse that I can do or something I can find, that is public knowledge or something to that effect. I find something that I can do to pass on to those individuals having those issues, whether
Right.
it's a point of contact or if it's just if it's just a piece of information that's not out there yet.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Okay. So I love to know what your tactical treasure is. What do you want to share with us today?
So it's really kind of funny that you say that because I had it in my head and it's kind of twofold. So my tactical treasure, if I had to say it, it's my dad, and my dad, because he taught me how to be resilient. I would not be the military spouse that I am. I would not have any form of resiliency, which by the way, I hate that word. We need to come up with a new word, people. But we really do. There's a negative connotation attached to that now because we do. But I've been able to handle it for the most part. I've survived anyway after 20 plus years in the Marine Corps with my husband, and we didn't kill
Yeah.
each other. We're still married. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I attribute that to my father because he dealt with adversity on a regular basis. When he was 2 years old, he contracted polio back in
Oh,
1952 or 1951, and it was before Jonas Salk invented the vaccine, and it was distributed widely to eradicate polio. Right.
right.
So he lived in an iron lung and in rehab facilities for 3 years straight. Round the clock care, Tracy.
Oh
Can
my
you
gosh.
imagine
No.
how much that would cost a
Yeah.
family today?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you know how much my grandmother and my grandfather had to pay? Zero, because of the March of Dimes. The March of
Wow.
Dimes paid for every single thing, and my grandmother, being who she is, which is probably why I am the way I am, she decided to pay it forward, and she would go out there and beat the streets on behalf of the March of Dimes, handing out information on childhood illnesses as they changed their mission once polio started going away.
Right.
Right up to the age of 87, she was running every single Walk America in Detroit, Michigan, forever. She knows everybody. It's crazy. And she because she could never repay that. She could never repay
Sure.
that.
Sure.
And so my tactical treasure is the fact that my dad was able to go to school. Like, he didn't have working use of his arms. He still went to Michigan State University. He still went to school every day. He was the smartest guy in Michigan. He was a disc jockey on the radio, the voice of Macomb County. Write it down. And yeah, and he raised me high, you know. so
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that nobody expected him to do. So that was like part of like, I don't look at anything like it's a challenge, because all I got to do is be like, my dad did this, I got this, right? That's kind of
Right.
my tactical treasure. But likewise, if you go to the granular level, I would not be where I am today were it not for the March of Dimes. I wouldn't be alive. If it wasn't for the March of Dimes, if it wasn't for people donating or learning more about childhood illnesses, if it wasn't for people like my grandmother saying, hey, I'm only one person, I can do this thing and collect donations for the March of Dimes, my dad wouldn't have lived. I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking. My husband wouldn't be the Marine he was. You know what I mean? I wouldn't
Sure.
have two milk kids. It really gets that granular. So I want you
Sure.
and your audience to try something for me, because this is really, really huge. Because I think about it, what if somebody said, I'm one person, and they didn't do that thing? What if Gandhi said that? What if Michelle Obama or Mother Teresa? If Mother Teresa said, you know what, I'm one person, I can't do anything, and didn't do what she did, our world would not look the same. So I'm gonna encourage all of us to close our eyes for just a moment, and I want you to think of that person in your life where they did or they said something that impacted your life so significantly that you would not be where you are today were it not for that person. Okay. And now you've got that person in your mind. And I want you to think to yourself, you can open your eyes. I want you to think to yourself, what if they had said, you know what? I'm only one person. What can I do for anyone? And they did not do or say the thing that they did or said for you to be where you are today. And that is very, very important to think about. And sometimes it's the perspective that we need to
Right.
look at things differently. So if you think of that person today, if you're able to, give them a shout out, give them a call, text, Facebook, whatever, and let them know that they're that person.
Yeah. Well, I've heard it said too that, if you want to change the world, it starts with one thing from you, right? Change you. What can you
Hmm.
do? If you could just do one thing to make a difference for one person,
Yes.
it can have a domino effect and can do many things. So,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, never can think of just one person, but
Yeah.
just one person can do a lot. You never know who or what life that you may touch on a
Hmm.
daily basis that can make
Yes,
all the
ma'am.
difference in the world. So I love that. That's a great tactical treasure. How cool.
Thanks.
Your dad's an amazing man. And yes, he made a very persevering woman
I
in
like
his
it.
daughter, right?
I like it. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. A word of advice for fellow male spouses that are going through change, many changes. If you could give them a few nuggets to help them along the way, what would it be?
Find your tribe. You might have heard it said 100 different find your people, find your tribe. And you know what? We don't always get to choose who those people are. And sometimes, even if we
True.
don't like those people, save our they may end up saving our lives. That is not even an exaggeration. I had gotten into an argument with a neighbor back in the day. This is a true story. Way, way back in the day. And we weren't on speaking terms for a while, but I got very sick, and both my kids were sick at the same time. I had 105 fever, so my daughter ran next
Oh,
door, and she got because that's what she knew to do. And the next thing you know, my old friend is putting me in the bathtub and, fully clothed and saying, we got to go to the ER. I'm driving you or I'm calling 911. You choose. Of course, my husband's not home. She drove me. She cared for my kids. She brought me back to them, made sure that we tucked me in. We did not speak to each other before that, and then we did not speak again. She saved my life, and then I found out. I called her and I tried to get a hold of her 10 years later, and it was 2 weeks too late, because at the age of 28 she died of lung cancer, of all things.
oh my gosh.
28 years
Oh,
old, and
wow.
I never got to make amends and say thank you. So I would say find your tribe, and even if you don't like them, they might save your life.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say that, and also it's a little bit of a call to action as well when it comes to that nugget. Um, when we're talking about change, sometimes you have to be the change that you wish to see in the world. So if something isn't, if you're just not jiving with the people that you're currently hanging out with, or you need other things in your life, if you're just not there, right? You need to be that change. You're not going to make friends by sitting on your couch behind a keyboard, honey. You're not. I'm sorry, it's just not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
You can start that way, but you have to bring it the next step. So be that change, because my child is also a military spouse, and she's not going to listen to her mother, right?
Right.
Like, she's
Right.
not going to listen to this face right here. I
Right.
need you to say the same stuff I'm saying, which is not wrong. But no, I'm going to charge you as a call to action, all of you, every single one of you. I don't care if you're Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, Coasties, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever branch, wherever you go, you will find people. And like my daughter, who is shy and who doesn't know A from B and won't listen to the resource that she lived with,
I
I
know,
need
my
you.
gosh. You're like a shining example of how to do
Like,
this mill spouse life, right?
she's
Oh
like,
my
whatever,
gosh.
mom.
But see, the thing is you're also her mother. That's the problem.
Yes, yes. And so I really want you to look out for her, and people like her, right? Like, people like her, and you know what I'm talking about, and they will
Yeah.
be fierce advocates for you in the end. I promise you, find your tribe, like my juju.
Oh, that's great advice. I love it. So, before we wrap up our time here, where can people find and connect with you, and how can mill spouses find out, become involved with the National Military Spouse Network? How do they go about that?
So as far as myself, all you have to do is go on Facebook and look up MJ Boice. Um, ha- and it's because that is the mode and method that I use. And I'm not
Okay,
trying to date myself. It's just the most reliable.
sure.
Um, and also where all my family is, right? All my
Yeah.
family. But also, the National Military Spouse Network can also be found on Facebook. And I believe that we're going to have, I think, an address at some point, and oh God, a link,
A link.
um,
Got it.
a link. We'll get that. Yeah. So a link. So we'll make sure. I guess we'll make sure they get that link. But the National Military Spouse Network, and to get involved, it can be anything from just reading over some of the issues that are occurring in the military spouse employment sphere. You could join us on our Day of Advocacy, which is Military Spouse Appreciation Day this year. And you don't have to go anywhere. You can even just make a call, set up an appointment about a week or two ahead of time with your local or your state representatives, or even your congressional representatives, and just say, I want to talk about military spouse employment and I want to see where you stand on it. Can we meet, since it's Military Spouse Appreciation Day? And it never hurts to be like, it's good PR for you, and I get to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
True. Got it. Yeah, that's great. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for this very full of energy podcast. I love it. Great story, great stuff. Thanks for sharing all that you did. It was just really amazing to have you on and speak with you. Thank you for taking the time.
thank you very much.
We'll talk soon. Take care. Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tactical Treasures Podcast. We've just finished up an amazing conversation with MJ Boyce, who is a military family advocate and the spouse of a retired Marine. She is also a proud member of the National Military Spouse Network, or NMSN, which is a preeminent networking, mentoring, and professional development organization committed to the education, empowerment, and advancement of military spouses. NMSN creates a community of military spouse professionals, businesses, academics, and media to share expertise and craft innovative solutions on both balancing a viable career with the military lifestyle and laying the foundation for a successful career post-military life. The organization delivers ongoing personal and professional development for military spouses by providing quality content, mentoring, networking opportunities, and resources, including a monthly newsletter and a biannual digital magazine. The NMSN believes that a truly portable career is one that allows military spouses to leverage their existing skills and interests into meaningful paid work. Through exclusive members only networks, NMSN members can tap into the experiences and the knowledge base of fellow members to seek guidance about their own careers. The NMSN also advocates to ensure that policymakers are aware of the key concerns facing military spouses in the workforce. And if you want to find out more, just check out the National Military Spouse Network on Facebook, and you can also Google it and find their website. Also, MJ Boice, if you want to connect with her as well, check her out on Facebook, MJ Boice. Again, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, you can find all your Tactical Treasures podcasts on all your favorite podcast platforms, as well as Vet TV. We're now airing on Reach Across America Radio on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you missed that, please join us for the encore Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can also find Reach Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye-bye now.